On the board of FINCA Tanzania, we consider ourselves a traditional microfinance organization. It's a very high OPEX model and one that requires a lot of human controls. We're under threat from the rest of the market that is evolving around us. You have the commercial banks, they're looking down into our space. You have the MNOs that are partnering with fintech organizations that are giving pretty much immediate, short-term, fast loans. And whereas we're still able to grow and exist today, we're under an extreme amount of threat, and the board sees that because we live in the country and we see what's going on.
Okay, I'm Kelvin. I'm a FINCA customer and I want to improve my life and sustain it and grow and pay for the school fees for my children, etc. So I've started a motorcycle business as a taxi. The question is, are we going to fulfill the part of providing a motorcycle plus the short-term needs of the customer? It's just one user case. Or are we going to say, oh, let him use Jumo, and then Jumo is going to build a proper business profile of who I am, finally hand me a motorcycle and fulfill my need to grow my business. So us to sustain, we need to evolve with the time. Evolve or die, simple as that.
First of all, we spend time in the field visiting customers and talking to staff. And also, we've brought on new board members that come from the MNO space, that come from more of an IT background, and in some cases, younger board members that are a little bit more dynamic and understand, the new market and what's happening in the space. We've spent a lot of time with management and we've participated in strategic sessions with management to figure out how do you move this traditional microfinance model somewhere in between a fintech, which is a no-touch, immediate, small lending kind of operation like what you see with the M-Shwari or M-Power as it is in Tanzania, and somewhere in between there and a traditional model.
Some key things that we've done before in, let's say, the last 5 years is that core banking and creating a real solid core banking platform, an operations department that does payments, reconciliations. You take that out of finance and create a unit that's able to do that, because once you start doing channels, the reconciliation part specifically, and the centralization for cost purposes is extremely important. And thirdly, and this is my opinion, I don't want to offend anybody, but if you do not have a license to collect deposits, you're going to be in big trouble. You also have to have the channels in place, because if you don't have the channels, you can't deliver services over them. So we've also implemented this agent network, which is an agent network we own. We don't charge the customer for transacting there. We brand just like an M-Pace agent. It's a FINCA agent. We use biometrics. So after the core banking, you have to have the middleware, or let's say the switch and the other technology that allows for those channels. And if you don't have channels, you can't raise deposits. We basically have 3 pillars of activities that we're pursuing through the board in FINCA Tanzania. The first one is credit scoring and data. So we've partnered with some credit scoring organizations, and we understand that we have to replace our current processes, especially when you talk about group lending, which is a majority of our borrowers. What we're starting to realize, especially with the group lending, is that the revenue and the OPEX ratio grow similarly. So even if you scale up, you're not going to be making a lot more money. So you've got to reduce the cost. You got to get, your people generating more income per individual, and you've got to make sure that your loan loss provisioning stays at a reasonable rate. We have different lines of activities that we're doing to implement more of an analytical approach and introducing credit scoring and aligning our products that we can now become more efficient and help us manage the risk. The second pillar is digital field automation. How are you going to redo your processes, and how are you going to make this thing more efficient if you're able to have a tablet or a phone to do what you do today, but more efficiently and better, so that loan officers or staff can go out, open accounts, they can process loans. So digitizing this, and also the data that we're going to gather, is part of pillar 1. If I've digitized all of my data on the loan applications that I receive, then That data is going to be important for our future.
The third pillar is being the mobile phone. So we know that the mobile phone is going to be extremely important to our future. And under that, we have two sort of streams that we're looking at in terms, the first stream being through M&O partnerships, through telco partnerships, that we would partner and deliver basically savings and loans products to the M&O's customer base. So we're also looking at what we're calling a bank-led model, where we start to use the mobile phone to deliver products that will over time replace some of the products we do, especially on the low end. And FINCA, being an institution that has a vision of being the primary financial service provider for low-income individuals, it's important that we figure out about more efficient and scalable way to service that segment. The change management piece is really the big struggle. And so we have the strategy, and to see the strategy through requires the right people, the right organizational structure, and the right continual communication with the staff that are involved. The big lesson learned is that it's important to kind of not rush and give yourself a time that is reasonable to execute on these projects. You may want a whole list of things, but it's very important to kind of bring it down and have a small list of manageable development tasks to implement, and do it in a staged approach, because sometimes you get a little bit overzealous with what you want. And my big advice is take the time, go to the field, open up a mobile account, try to apply for a loan if in your country you have mobile loan products. Experiencing some of this firsthand and going out to the field and talking to customers about, that are using these products is extremely valuable. More extensive research is always helpful, but really the board needs that hands-on feel for what's going on in the market. And secondly, it is an investment. So there's a balancing act between keeping your P&L like you want to see it versus investing in this new channels and business models, which nothing happens overnight. You don't start making money in day one, and you've got to have a strong commitment that it's the right thing to do, and that if we don't do it, we're in deep trouble.